Dust is all that's left of us. But only if you ever worry. While the signs were clear, they had no idea. You just get used to living in fear. Or give up when you can't even picture your future.
What's up YouTube, Evan from Epic Duel Time here. I am doing a commentary on a duel video for you guys. This is Spellbook Prophecy versus Mermail. I am piloting the Spellbooks on the left, and Dan is piloting Mermail on the right. This is kind of an interesting matchup because Spellbook Prophecy is not exactly a real high tier meta deck right now, so going against your tier level meta deck is fairly tricky. But again, it's something that the game 2 and game 3 are very, very interesting. Game 1s tend to be kind of uphill for spellbooks. So I take the turn 1, I set a card, and Dan draws. Normal summons an Abyss Lindy. This is a bait just to see what if I have any face downs, what I'm working with. He declares an attack, and I decided to take the damage, the 1500 from Lindy. The card that I have face down is Threatening Roar. For those of you who have seen previous duels with me using the spellbooks, this is my first time using a Roar. I'm a huge fan of the card right now. So I play Temperance, give it power to boost it to 2000, and I attack over the Lindy. He activates Lindy's effect, I activate Power's effect, and he also activates a Trag in hand. He tells me that he has it in hand, and he's going to summon it after he special summons off the Lindy, but because the Trag does activate first. But he told me that he had it as soon as I attacked, like once I killed the monster. So I searched the Spellbook of Secrets. He now has Trag and a Megalo. So on my main 2, I get rid of my Temperance. At this point, I want to go for a Priestess. Alright, special on my Priestess. His activation requirement was fulfilled by me giving him the Spellbook of Power. Then I play Secrets. And I'm going to search out the Spellbook of Eternity. I reconsidered the Eternity for a moment, but then I just ended up picking the Eternity anyways, because what I want to do is I want to banish Secrets and put it back in my hand for next turn, so I can make some big plays next turn. So I actually, if you see, I accidentally put the Secrets back in my hand, and I realized it quick, and I put the Eternity back. So I use Priestess to pop the Trag, and I use Eternity to get back the Secrets. The reason why I pop Trag instead of Megalo is Trag does have a lot of future plays. If he has a dead Megalo in hand, he can drop it and steal my Priestess with the Trag. He can make a lot of really, really big plays with that Trag. So I'd rather deal with a 2400 Megalo than a potential 3000, 3600 Trag that could steal my monster away from me. So on Dan's turn, he then summons Atlantean Heavy Infantry. Keep in mind that if I were to use the Threatening Roar right now, it does not prevent Megalo from activating his effect. It doesn't fully skip his battle phase, even though he can't declare an attack. But Thunder of Ruler, which does skip his battle phase entirely, does prevent him from activating Megalo's effect. So please keep that in mind when, for the reason that I was activating this. So he tributes the Heavy Infantry with Megalo to get Megalo's effect. He then pops my Priestess and enters his battle phase, and I use Threatening Roar. He had game damage. If you look, a 14 would have gone into the 1800 monster, the Dragoons, and then 4800 from Megalo definitely would have been game, so the Threatening Roar definitely saved my skin. So he sets the back row and ends. I then play Dark Hole. I activate Spellbook of Secrets. I search Spellbook of Wisdom. The reason why I'm looking for Wisdom right now is because I want to make a play to get Priestess. So if his back row is a Torrential, then I have some real plays for future. So then I summon my Spellbook Magician, and I use his effect, and I search out the Spellbook of the Master. I activate the Spellbook of the Master. I was having a hard time finding Wisdom, and then I reveal my Wisdom, copy Secret's effect, and search again. This time I'm going to search Spellbook of Life. I do a bit of an illegal play on the Spellbook of Life. I want to explain that to you guys. When you activate Spellbook of Life, you have to reveal the spellbook, which you already knew I had, but you have to banish a spellcaster to summon a spellcaster. I did have a Temperance engrave, and I don't use the Temperance for the rest of the match. So it's not a huge thing. I just forgot to remove it. He flips the warning so fast, and we kind of went fast on that play, so I didn't actually get a chance to banish my Temperance. But just so you guys know, I did notice that, and I'm sorry about that, but it's not too huge because it doesn't actually entirely change everything. It certainly doesn't change a ton of the results, but it is something worth noting. Then I attack directly for 500, and Dan summons another Trag. So that brings him down to 5,000, but he gets a Trag. And I take a look at my graveyard. And then I have my turn. On his turn, he summons Atlantean Marksman, and I Valor it because he says he's entering battle phase. He then decides he's going to he activates Tragoedia's effect, and I Valor that to keep it at a 10. So I want Trag at 10, level 10, because I don't want him to have synergy with the Marksman, who also got Valored. Luckily I had 2 Valors, or else that also would have been a really dangerous play for me. So he's going to kind of have to make a play with that Marksman. So he attacks over the Magician, dealing 900 damage. For those of you wondering why I haven't really gone for a real Spellbook Tower play, is because he's holding a I'm holding a Heavy Storm, and I'm waiting for him to set. I know he has I'm guessing he has another spell and trap in his hand, so I want to actually use it. So so that I can actually like hit it and then make sort of a tower play. But also at this point, it wasn't really optimal to do so. I wanted to actually like, get field presence. The problem with water is that you can't spend 3-4 turns building a play against them because they're going to win. Marksman alone can deal tons of damage combined with Dragoons. They build very, very, very quick field presence, very, very, very quickly, and it's insane. So just to let you guys know what I'm kind of been thinking this. So Dan then goes and uses Trag's effect to lower itself down to 3. And of course, I don't have an Veiler for it. He turns into attack mode. He summons Dragoons. And a Scoop, because that's a lot of damage. It's going to be 2 Dragoons and Trag and everything. Trag's at 600, so it kind of wasn't. I had nothing for it. Okay, so now we have game 2. The game 2 in Spellbooks is interesting because you do have a lot of sides, Dimensional Fissure, Soul Drain. None of those hurt you. You just have to take out Spellbook of Life if you're gonna play the Dimensional Fissure. But I also decided to Maxis. Dan, I know, is going to side a pair of MSTs, if not 3 MSTs against me. And I wasn't entirely sure how many he was going to main deck, but Mermails do have the tendency to side lots of MSTs to stop Dimensional Fissure, Soul Drain, and all of that. So I open and I get Secrets. I activate Secrets, get Magician. I get Magician, search Spellbook of the Master, use Master, reveal my tower. Keeping in mind that tower is indeed a Spellbook. And from there, I search Spellbook Star Hall. Oh no, wait, I changed my mind. Sorry. I picked Power. I was gonna pick Hall, but I didn't really have enough spellbooks to get a lot of advantage. Usually you should search Hall when you have or if you open Hall, or if you have another Secrets in hand, because then you can build a lot of advantage. So I set a Threatening Roar. keeping in mind what's in my hand, I have power, tower, and I had the ability to summon a first turn priestess, but it's a really bad idea. So I play my tower in hand. Dan plays his Gen X Undine. Not like I have a response to it. The only thing you'd ever want to do to that as a warning, but that's it. And again, as usual, I try to not give you guys like complete monotone coverage, but at the same time, it's 3 in the morning when I do these videos. I try to do them later so that I have fewer interruptions. Dan drops an Atlantean Dragoons to do his search. He searches a controller, obviously, and then for the activation of Dragoons effect, he will search an Atlantean Marksman. The Marksman is very telling to me because it tells me what is face down, what's in his hand. Usually, most times, someone will search a Marksman because they have a Megalo in their hand and they want to pop your back row, which to me is fine. I don't mind because my face down is threatening roar. But instead, Dan plays the conservative play and just simply attacks. It's not worth saving a Magician over that, so I take the 700 damage. The conservative play in that, I think Dan read that that was a threatening roar or a torrential. He definitely made the right play on that. So Dan sets 2 back row. I have my draw phase, then I have my standby phase where I activate tower and I double draw. I put my iPhone away. And I put back master and I draw dramatically. I summon another magician. And I search. I search secrets. Activate secrets. I search master. I reveal power. I copy secrets. And I kind of stack them like this because there's no point in wasting my opponent's time cutting my deck and stuff. And as long as your opponent has some good communication as to what it is you're doing, most opponents should be okay with it. So then I search Spellbook of Wisdom, and it's my hand. The Wisdom is to protect the priestess that I'm about to summon. I reveal 3 Spellbook cards, and I special summon a priestess. The summon is successful, however he does have a response. He responds with Torrential Tribute, and I chain my Spellbook of Wisdom. I double check my face down first, but I use Wisdom to save my priestess and protect her from traps for the turn. It's actually a good play to do that. I then activate Dimensional Fissure. The reason why it's a better play to actually nuke the field like that is because he knows that I have Spellbook of Power, so if I give my Priestess power and I attack over that that Undine, it's going to be worse. So then I activate Priestess effect, I banish my Spellbook of Wisdom, and I pop Karma Cut. Look up what Karma Cut does if you guys are unfamiliar. It's a tech that Dan really loves for side decking. Unfortunately, it has a hard time against spellbooks because I have Spellbook of Wisdom. I attack him directly for 25 and he summons a Trag. Then I set a card and I end. I really do love Dimensional Fissure in this deck. I'm not a huge fan of the card itself, just because I'm not a really big fan of just removing everything. But it's cool in this deck because it actually works with your mechanics. It sends all your spellbooks to the grave while keeping your spellbooks alive. So he attacks with the Tragoedia, and but he didn't really declare the battle phase, so I said on battle phase I activate Threatening Roar, And so I roar. Next turn, he controllers. So this is going to lead into a Black Rose play, and I know it. Or potentially any nasty play. So what I do is I use Spellbook of Fate. And this is a quirky spellbook. It has 3 different effects, but I decided to use the second one. So I banish my secrets and I banish my Master Spellbook to turn Tragoedia face down. I still have Spellbook of Power, so I can kill that Gen X controller very, very quickly. What I can't kill is going to be that Trag in attack mode, which is fine because he's in defense mode now. Spellbook of Fate's a really tricky spellbook. It's very hard to read it in terms of knowing what you're doing, but in the end it's a really good card. So on my standby phase I put it back and I draw again. And I activate my Priestess's effect to pop his face down. It is a warning, which isn't exactly what I wanted to see, but it's okay. I use Spellbook of Power on my Priestess, and I attack over his Gen X controller, dealing 2,200 points of damage, and getting a free Spellbook out of it. And books are books, so it's a good book. So the next thing I do is I pick out a Spellbook of Secrets. Oh, no, I pick out Eternity apparently. I don't know why I didn't still pick the secrets. Oh, I know why I didn't. Okay, never mind. Spoiler alert. It wasn't a misplay. I use Eternity to get secrets. And then I activate secrets. Wow. I look back and I can't even recognize the plays I'm about to do. And then I pick Master. I reveal my Spellbook of Life. That was the best play. Damn. That was a decent play. I'm okay with that. And I select a Spellbook of Fate because Dan hates it. At this point though, I have three Spellbooks in grave if I need them. And also if I have to banish them all, I still have the Spellbook of Fate itself in the graveyard. For the remainder of this, I put my banished spellbooks upside down. So then, Dan plays Lord of Darkness, and is forced to banish this Tragoedia. And at this point is remaining with 4 cards, now 3 cards in him. Setting 2 and ending. I activate the Tower's effect to put back a spellbook from my grave. At this point, I'm looking at it and saying, you know, I could really use that Master again sometime. And Master can always be Eternity. So I ended up getting another tower, which isn't too big. You can always reuse those towers. I run 2 towers. I know a lot of people have been pushing for 1 tower. I'm a big fan of 2 towers. God forbid something happens and you draw kind of ass. I hate trying to search out my tower. I don't mind drawing it, so. Because it's always live when you have a Priestess, because you can just use it for pop material. Unfortunately, it isn't drawing any MST, so I don't get to use my Maxine that's in my hand. I use Priestess's effect. And I pop the Trag. I do pop Trag. Pop the Trag. Yeah. And it banishes the second Trag. I declare a direct attack He activates Karma Cut, targeting my priestess, and it will banish her. However, it does require the monster to be face up. So, I chain Spellbook of Fate. And Fate has its effect again to turn monsters face down, and it's any monster. So, I banish 2 Spellbooks again. My Eternity and my Power, put Fate in my grave, and I set my monster. So, he has to discard a card, and it ends up getting banished. And I get to keep my priestess at the cost of 2 spellbooks to my banish zone. Then he normal summons a marksman for field presence and ends. During my standby phase, I put back my Spellbook of Fate and draw again. At this point, he only has 1 back row. I reflip my priestess. He summon mornings it. So it gets banished, and he loses 2,000 life points, bringing him down to 1,300 to my 73. I have Maxi and Ham, and I have to actually summon a monster because I can't let him direct the attack with that marksman. So I set my Maxi, and I set a Soldering. And I end. He then summons Abyss Lindy. He overlays. And this is a great play if I didn't have a Soldering as well. So he activates Leviathan's effect. He detaches the Atlantean Marksman as cost, and I chain the Soul Drain. I take 1,000, and that saves my face down monster. He then direct attacks with Leviathan. He attacks the monster with Leviathan, and it pops my Maxi. I draw. I gain a second draw from the tower, and it's just when I needed. So I can reveal 3 spellbook cards. I got that last spellbook off of that. So then Dan scoops after that because basically it's just 1 pop and a direct attack away. So it brings us to game 3. Again, that's the power of side decking. Side decking in Prophecy is huge because it makes up for any shortcomings you run into, especially against water, because you end up having to bring in things like Fisher and Soul Drain because they don't hurt you whatsoever, and they really nail your opponent to the wall. So, game 3. I somehow thought the camera was out of whack, but it was fine. So, I'm sorry about the angle of this. It kind of annoys me. But, hopefully you guys don't mind too much. The match has been okay thus far. Dan opens an Undine and summons it. He pitches a Dragoons as cost, searches a Gen X controller, and activates the Dragoons effect to get Deep Sea Diva. Excuse me. 3 in the morning. And just to let you guys know, this is going to be the last real-time duel video of the format. When formats close, I try to lighten up on videos because they end up being less relevant. Like, why would you watch this video 2 months from now when it has nothing to do with the format? So this is going to be the last real-time video. I will still be doing like card summaries and some Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro videos, but I will be immediately starting videos as of the week of March 1st. I will be posting videos. Hopefully I can get like ahead of one and like do like a pre-one beforehand, but hopefully I'll get something done for you guys. Alright, Dan set 1 and ended. I set 1 and end. At this point, Dan kind of knows I have some tricky back row. He's trying to be, the best he can, so he's trying to play around the Threatening Roar. Because he knows that my deck is not running traps, but he knows I can side them. And I'm siding like Soul Drains as it is. So the problem is that if he goes off, it could really backfire. And it could be left really, really vulnerable. as always, guys, if you have like suggestions and stuff for like card reviews or any sort of video, just post them down below. Also, make sure you watch the end of the video to take part in this week's Cosmo Blazer pack giveaway. I've been giving away packs. I give away a pack every duel video, so just you can watch the other ones and take part in those. We have the winner of this week's at the end. So I've just been trying to, you know, vary things up for you guys and give a little variety. I know you guys really like the real-time duel videos, but they just get really hard to film when you have players that sometimes aren't always easier to work with. This one came out great and easy, but it's not always that way. Alright, so Dan activates Abyss Megalo's effect and pitches a heavy infantry and a marksman. I use the MST and I chain and pop his warning. He also has Megalo's effect to resolve, so he will search Abyss Sphere. And for those of you who know water well, you know I'm about to take a poop load of damage. He then summons Deep Sea Diva, activating its effect to search an Atlantean marksman and summon it. Alright, and Dan declares an attack with Atlantean Marksman. I have a Tragoedia in hand, and what's going to happen is I'm only going to have 4 cards left in hand, so if it dies, I can't really help it. So what I do is, he then declares an attack with Abyss Megalo. I don't get why, but he does. So after the Megalo attack, I drop the drag. I don't really know why I didn't drop it after the marksman, if it was going to be 24. I don't know what I was afraid of. I guess that's a bit of a misplay on my part. I don't know. I don't really know what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking. I don't know. I wouldn't. Looking back, I really should have just dropped it after the marksman, because there's no way for him to really do anything on the main phase 2 that's going to kill me. And then Dan's going to, for his main phase 2, look over his extra deck for some options. And he decides to synchro into a Stardust Dragon, which I don't blame him for it, because like I think it's interesting, because if I have the Dark Hole, it's gonna suck. But at the same time, I think it's the only reason it would help him. And then there's the next thing he does. Spoiler alert, it hurts me. He plays Reborn. And then Dan decides to special summon. I really could have cut this part out. Oh, we're just sitting there, aren't we? Alright, so he searches out of Dragoons and overlays to get an Bahamut Shark. And he removes the Bahamut Shark. He detaches from the Bahamut Shark to summon Abyss Trite. And he activated the Dragoons. But then he forgot to like search it, so I remind him to resolve his effect. He did say to activate it, like he said to activate it, but he forgot to resolve it. So he says the word activate, but he forgets to resolve it. So he goes to search. Not a big deal. It's not like he ended his turn. I don't know if he thought he could search that one. But yeah, he searches out heavy infantry. But I don't know. This is a very confusing game. Alright, so I cut him. He leaves his deck on my mat for a little while. So then I put it over there. Yeah, he's got a nasty field. I really didn't feel good about it. See, this is what I'm talking about. When you don't really have, when the Mermail player has the ability to go off, they do, and it's very hard to get back at them after they've done it. So I turn Trag to attack mode. I'm kind of running on empty. I've got power cards in hand. I've got heavy. I've got reborn, but you don't want to start using them up until you actually need to. So I'm gonna start swinging, and I also have a dead priestess in my hand, which I want to do something with. So, I declare an attack on Stardust, and this is a very cool play that he does. He responds to the attack with Abyss Sphere, and he summons an Abyss Pike. And Pike can activate his effect, it just can't resolve it, because its effect will be negated. So then he pitches off an Atlantean heavy infantry, and it pops my drag. And we leave his deck on my mat again, just because we can. Oh, we really forgot about that. So main 2, I figure I should go for my big play that I need to go for. So I try to reborn my Trag, but he pays the 2,000 for a warning. The play I was going to go for is take my... Oh, no, I have Gores in hand. I was going to take my Trag, pitch my Gores, steal his Megalo, copy Gores as his level, and then take Bahamut Shark. And Bahamut Shark would give me at least a 2600 beater, and then I'd have a 2600 beater with the Big Eye, meaning he can't get over it with Megalo. With the Stardust, excuse me. So I'd at least be in a slightly better position. So end phase, his monsters pop, his sphere and his monster pop. Look at Dan go. That hand shuffle. Guys, don't comment about hand shuffling. It's just like a little habit people do. It's really not worth like harassing about the comments. I end up deleting those comments. I do delete comments when you write stupid stuff. So don't bother writing about hand shuffling, or why are we playing on the same mat, or why do we put our decks in the graveyard zone. Why do I not upload more videos per week? These take forever to edit. I've been working on this one for hours. So then Dan turns his Trite to attack mode. And in a perfect world, Dan has game. But he's reading that I have Trag in hand, and he knows that he wants to deal as much damage as possible before I drop Trag, although the Trag wouldn't have been very big. I don't get the logic of this one. So he declares the attack with Bahamut Shark. and I drop Gores. And then we realize that the token is bigger than anything he has. Looking back after he did that, I actually could have avoided getting really screwed on this. I should have summoned my Gores in defense mode so it didn't get rammed by the Trite. But yeah, I really should have summoned that Gores in defense mode, because I'd already taken the brunt of the damage. So you'll see what happens. So Dan rams the Trite into the Gores and takes the damage. And from his graveyard, he special summons an Abyss Pike. And then he normal summons the Controller. Yeah, I really should have not summoned the Gores that way. He should have gone defense mode. And then he summons Gugnir, uses Gugnir, pitches the MST, pops the token. He overlays the Megalo and the Gugnir to create a Big Eye. He then steals my Gores. And he uses Bahamut Shark's effect. He goes all out. And then summons Leviathan. Keeping in mind that even if I did have a Dark Hole, it wouldn't really matter. And he searches a Deep Sea Diva. I take a little peek at my next card. I think it's fair. So, time to draw a card. Oh, and now we're in time, but it doesn't really matter. So I draw. And I set my whole hand. And I tell him on his turn that he needs to tell me when his battle phase is going to start, so that I can really fuck with him. So he tells me he's entering his battle phase, and I flip a bunch of spells, and it's a good game. Dan took the victory on this. I needed a Spellbook of Fate a lot earlier, but none of those spellbooks were going to be in the grave. I don't know. I didn't really get the spellbook end of it kickstarted very well, and Dan really had a lot of interactions for every play that I did have. So a good game played on both ends. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Last week's pack giveaway winner is Topener. I don't know how to pronounce that. Here, that's the image of it. And if you want to win a pack of Cosmo Blazer, there's 3 simple things you gotta do. Like this video, subscribe to the Epic Duel Time channel, and comment with an answer to the question of the week. And now that we have confirmation on the Forbidden Limited list for the March 1st format, what deck are you running and why? As always, like, comment, subscribe to our videos, and keep dueling, America.